Welcome to another episode of the show where we interview the storytellers, the hustlers, and the outcasts of the world. I'm Damon, and this is episode 15, part 2 of COVID-19. 2 days ago, if you guys were able to listen to part 1 with Maria, mother of 4, also a wife, we got to interview her and just kind of find out from a mother's perspective how she's dealing with this all and some things that she's learned from it or she's applying that we can also apply to our own lives during this quarantine phase. This is also a 3-part interview. Now, Lori is a teacher of over 25 years. She is also a former client of mine and one of my longtime friends. And different perspective, much like we did in the first interview. But this one, we're going to have a perspective from a school teacher. We all know how hard teachers work and how the education system or teachers in general are affected during this time because the kids can't go to school. So we also find out what are some things that she's implementing from home or online. But I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I'm not going to say much more because Lori's a great speaker and she's going to explain everything that you need to know. Part 2, episode 15. Here it is. Can you hear me?
How are you?
Is something good?
Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Thanks for taking the time. I know it's kind of last minute, but I'm glad you took the time.
I rearranged my whole schedule for you.
Basically, you just turned off Netflix and you pressed pause. And
no, my whole week I rearranged.
By the way, what were you watching on Netflix?
Designated Survivor.
So what would you recommend? Like, what is the one thing you're into right now on Netflix that you'd recommend for everybody?
I like anything that has to do with the White House or the president. Those kinds of movies or series.
Well, anyway, instead of introducing you, I figure that you'd introduce yourself on the podcast and let everyone know who you are and what you do.
This is Laurie. I'm a longtime friend and client of Damon and T-Move, and I am a middle school teacher here in Honolulu.
And how long have you been doing it?
I've been a teacher this year, makes 25 years.
Wow. So I was, let me see, what age was I when you first
2.
started?
2.
2 years old. 25 years. Wow. What have you learned from students in that time? Like, what is the one thing you've learned about kids?
Kids can tell if a teacher is genuine and if they genuinely care about their students. Students can tell. And even though, like, my middle schoolers, just battle middle school behavior and hormones and all of that, they're pretty keen on which teachers they know really care about them more than just their schoolwork. It's taken 25 years to realize that,
Oh, yeah. And I think the terrible 2s and the 3s, 5 and under, I think those ones are like masters of psychology because when you look, you ever saw them about to do something wrong and they know it's wrong and you're like, don't do that. And they looking back and they look at you like they just give you that eye and they do it anyway. Like they want to see how long they can get away with it. And I think, I think kids are genius. We just don't give them enough credit, really.
They test boundaries.
But how has been your experience with this whole thing, this whole craziness going around? How have you been taking it? Maybe how you and your family have been adjusting. What have you experienced?
Well, I live in a very full household with 2 senior citizens, my son and I, and my brother and his family. So, if we had to quarantine somebody, that'd be pretty challenging in our household.
Yeah.
But I have since really controlled what I listen to, what I watch, because there's so many stories out there. You kind of don't know who's true, who's accurate.
Yeah.
I always gravitate to the positive, the encouraging, those in recovery, all of those things. I don't give attention to the death toll. I don't give attention to the panic, the buying. I really have to just guard my thoughts like that, because this season it's so easy to, kind of just allow fear to take over, and I can't afford that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get caught up into it too. I mean, we all have friends who post like crazy stuff on, the president and the governor, and and it's just kind of it's kind of just building the fire, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and it's kind of out of control now.
Yeah. So and with such a full household, I can't afford to be in fear. I have senior citizens that I have to be mindful of, and I don't want them, overcome with fear and panic. But they've lived through a lot too, so I could probably learn something from them.
Oh, they're gangsters. That's what people forget. Seniors, they might be, the most at risk, but they've seen a lot. So this is just like, they just drop their mic. They're like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah. And which is kind of refreshing, because it's most of us that haven't really experienced something like this, that if you're not careful, you can it's like a undertow, like a tide at the beach.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, you get sucked in. Yeah.
Or as one person puts it, that I listened to on Instagram, it's being punched in the face. A lot of people haven't experienced being punched in the face yet, especially with maybe like the younger generation. They don't know what true loss is and sacrifice, and so this is where like the older generations can kind of step up and teach the younger ones how to live off of the bare essentials.
We're still fortunate to have Wi-Fi. That would change the whole game if we didn't have that.
That's what I always said. I said, look, the coronavirus, it's all bad and everything, but when you really want to see people panic is when you take away the Wi-Fi and connection. That's when you start seeing who's going to really survive, because that's a big deal in the world.
Right. Right. And just 20 years ago, we were fine, really, without our cell phones.
Exactly. So that's the true quarantine, is when you can just sit there and read and maybe watch TV, So, I think definitely gonna get worse over time, and that's why this episode is just about sharing experiences. It's not about educating people or whatnot. We can educate people through our experiences, but we don't necessarily have to tell people what to do, because every day information changes, and everyone knows by now to wash their hands and do all that stuff. So it's all about just kind of seeing what we can learn from each other. But for your field especially, you're a teacher. How has it affected your field? Like, what are you guys doing now to kind of deal with all of this?
Well, last week was spring break. And so, we didn't really have to plan. The quarter had already ended. The kids were out on spring break. And so this week, we've been getting correspondence from our principal, from our vice principals, from the superintendent of the department, from our union, and from the mayor and governor, of course. But today, our school, we were given 3 hours from 8 to 11 to go back to our classrooms and grab whatever we need. Our school is going to do packets, enrichment curriculum for all of the subject areas. I believe they're going to have it printed at a printing company, because that's just way too much paper for our school. I'm not sure how they're going to distribute to parents who are wanting work for their kids, but each department had provided lessons, enrichment lessons. So, like, I'm social studies, And each teacher took a week, and we had to plan 4 lessons for the week. And then our department head submits it to our vice principal, and then they take it from there. So I don't know if it's going to be a drive-through where parents can come and pick up. I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Was this before this all happened? Was there like a plan of if the kids have to stay home for a long period of time that you guys would be ready for it, or was that implemented yet? Or
we had a heads up, be ready to do classroom online. Quite a few of the teachers at our school do use Google Classroom to conduct their lessons. I'm an old school, obviously, 25 years. Last week I spent time on YouTube learning how to do Google Classrooms. But the biggest issue is equity, to make sure that all of our students have access to either online or hard copy. And so I know the DOE and our, leadership is figuring that out. We've never been in this position before for extended leave. Yeah. I had some really challenging kids this year. Honestly, I miss them. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on a podcast, but I do miss them. I do pray for them and their families that in this time, they take it seriously and they take care of themselves. Parents, I think, will come to appreciate their teachers because they have extended time with their own kids. One of the things I really think about is the kids who come to school for breakfast and lunch.
Yeah,
because that's something that they don't have. And or access to the health nurse or access to a counselor, for just regular issues. Those are the parts that are, something that concerns me, because I know in one of my homeroom class, I'm sure there are kids that really needed that lunch provided and that breakfast provided. And I think about the families, like how much food they got to buy. Now they're serving 3 meals a day, That is not easy.
You don't think about that, yeah? I never thought about that, like the meals that are provided, because there are a lot of low-income families and families who can't afford it. And, just having a breakfast and a lunch, not having to worry about is so huge, right?
Or the multiplication of the toilet paper needs, because now you got everybody home all day.
Wow.
So we should probably see tea leaf stems bear pretty soon.
I think your guys' job is bigger than people realize. What is the one thing you would tell people that they might not know about teachers and what you guys do, especially in a time like this?
For all that I do, my salary doesn't equate to all that I do for my kids.
Yeah.
Kind of, Yeah. According to Honolulu standards, I'm considered low income, but I'm a master's level educated teacher, but I'm low income. Yeah. I have 124 kids I'm responsible for. I'm a team leader, and I have 9 teachers I'm responsible for. And, there's just not that equity. And I think, though, parents are coming to appreciate their kids' teachers a lot more. A lot more.
That's for sure. Yeah, amen on that.
But, every teacher is different. Like, I've become very nurturing. Some teachers are very content-based, content-oriented. I teach content. I teach Hawaiian monarchy, and I teach Pacific Islands. But in the last few years, it's become teaching them how to be a good person, or how to handle stress, or how to handle this boy broke up with this girl and all this.
We've all been there before.
And I know they miss them. They miss each other. I know they miss me. I feel that.
I'm sure
I feel it, and I wish I could communicate to them, somehow, some way. but I'm not set up for that yet. So I hope to see them. I hope we can at least finish the school year together. I think they'll be well behaved when they come back.
Do you think in the long run that you guys kind of transitioning to technology will maybe develop better systems when you guys do, get back in session, or maybe it might cut costs or save money, you think?
I think this whole experience everybody will be reevaluating, how we teach, how we do things, how we communicate. If I had set up my Google Classroom before this all happened, I could be in contact with my kids.
Yeah.
I would have access to them, their emails, or just, send a message or send a little FaceTime video. Hi, how you guys doing? That's what I wish I could do. Which surprises me. But I wish I could just send them a message of encouragement of, everything is shut down. Normally, if kids are on break, they're at parades, they're at the movies, they're at the beach, but they don't have any of that. So I'm sure it's not easy for the parents. I'm sure.
Yeah, the challenge right now is it's just like me as a personal trainer, how can we help out our clients or students from afar? How do we get creative with that now versus we can't be there physically with them? It's kind of helpless.
And you don't want them to regress.
Yeah.
All the skills that they've gained all school year. You don't want the brain to just shut off and forget everything they learn.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
But the department has postponed testing because the month of April is all testing for the kids. So they've postponed that. And it's funny because my son, who's a senior, my heart goes out to all the seniors, really.
Yeah.
When all us moms were pregnant, it was 9/11.
Yeah.
And here at 18, it's coronavirus. So it's a special group of kids,
Yeah, I never
thought about that. A real special group. And the other day he said, Mom, when they give us the all clear and we can go back to school, I'll be the first one there. I don't care if I'm the only one. I was like, can I record you, please? That he said, I just miss school. I said, yeah. I'm sure your teachers do too. So,
I never thought about that whole 9/11 and now like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a special calling for these kids to endure what they have. My son's prom was canceled. Graduation not looking promising, because he's in the middle of May. We have a graduation party planned. That's we're just talking to the vendors, and that's kind of on hold. Yeah. But like for my son, if he can't have his graduation ceremony, then we'll move the party to later in the summer and really make it special. And when people ask me and I tell them, I said, it's important to give your kids something to believe in so that in times like this, they're not alone. Yeah. And they're not sucked into the vacuum. And they have something, whatever it is. We're Christians. We're born-again believers. That's how my son was raised. But there's all kinds of religions. But I think as adults, we have to give our kids something to believe in because their future is ahead. They have a long future. And if this season they feel like, what's the point? Or, things are going to end. Or, they don't have that. If they're not given that, that's what I wish I could communicate to my kids. Okay, you're going to go on to 8th grade, you're going to go into high school, I want you to think about your future. And that's what I've endeavored to give my son. So he's very grounded, I believe.
Yeah, it's a good thing you brought that up because I know you're very, very faith-based. And, ending this conversation, is there anything that any last thoughts, reflections, any advice that you can give everyone that's going through this right now?
Guard what you hear and guard what you see. And what I mean by guard is if you feel like the point where it's just too much already, then turn it off. you know what you need. We need to wash our hands. We need to, have our food stores stored up. We have to, stay home and take care of ourselves, get out in the sun, fill yourself with vitamin C. If you're faith-based, get in your Bible, start feasting on God's promises. But it's up to us now to limit what's coming in, the eye gate, the ear gate. We have to be very guarded on what comes out of our mouth, because we speak. And it's not just faith-based. What you speak, you have what you say.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, and that's what I tell my son to believe. You have what you say. If you say, if you don't believe that thing, this is going to pass, this is going to turn around, then that makes the quarantine time even harder, I think. Now's the time to learn. Jump on YouTube, learn all kinds of stuff, jump on Team Move when they have digital workouts, get out in your front yard, or get in somewhere where you can get a workout in, clean, update your resume, read, email people who might need encouragement, because I believe what you give comes back to you.
Yeah. There's a lot of good going on in the world, believe it or not. And I think overall we're going to learn from this either way. There's so many, we're already learning, and not only learning, but we're going to appreciate those who helped us, like teachers. I know parents are going to appreciate you guys even more.
Yay!
Teachers and work. I think work will be very appreciated, because a lot of people hate their jobs, right?
Co-workers. Yeah, your co-workers. And, I don't ride the city bus, but, man, I appreciate them for going to work every day.
Yeah.
I never thought about the grocery clerk until my son was one.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you stop and appreciate. And I hope it's that. And hey, if you don't run out of toilet paper, just like the construction workers, cut off your sleeves, or jump in a shower, wash your butt.
Yeah,
there's there's always a way. And the last thing I would say is start a gratitude journal. Every night before you go to bed, write down 5 things you're grateful for. And it'll change your mood. Down to the littlest thing,
Yeah.
It'll change your mood. And then later on in the year, you can look back and look at what we've all come through,
Well, I am grateful for you and your friendship and all these years of putting up with me. And even though you were in the middle of watching Netflix and watching, chaos at the White House.
You're more important. You're more important.
Like, you press pause for me at Netflix. Like, that's pretty big. I don't think anyone has pressed pause.
I'm happy to say this is kind of like the first time I actually took time to watch Netflix. Every other time I was taking care of people or, reading or doing other things. But, yeah. I appreciate what you're doing and the exercise programs you're going to be posting online for people to tune into,
I hope you'll be doing it along with us.
And funny, I have been walking. I started my, it took a pandemic for me to put my shoes back on.
I know.
But it goes to show what I learned from my trainer. Because we weren't at the gym a lot. We were outside.
Yeah. Now tell us, maybe you can talk about your trainer for a little bit. What kind of guy was he? Was he a really good trainer, or funny, witty, charismatic, good looking?
This is my trainer's podcast, so I have to really watch what comes out of my mouth. One thing about Trainer Damon is he's very intuitive. He knows when to push. And he's not moved by crying or excuses or ugly faces or swearing. He's not moved because he sees more than what the client sees. He knows what they're capable of. And I've always said that you've been intuitive about the people you train. And you know just how far to push. Even though I don't think you knew that when you were training me. I think because of me, you learned that.
But I think a lot of what you said is really like huge and very has a lot of value in it, especially with teachers. And we all know what teachers go through and how hard they work. So I really wanted to put that out there as well, just to be that voice for everybody, So
yay, thank you.
We will do our best to put it out there. And again, thanks for taking the time to talk to me, and most of all, thank you for pressing pause on your Netflix. I really appreciate that.
Next time you're in Pro City, text me and we can go for a walk or something.
All right, I'll hold you to it. Everybody's listening now. Lori will go with me for a walk as soon as we can get past all this.
Around my loop, yes.
All right,
where I live.
On. It's on. And I don't think there's any words to describe, how appreciative we all are for teachers and what you guys do, because
thank you.
That's
thank you
for
very
much. Whole nother podcast. So, all right, Laurie. Well, we'll be in touch and take care and let me know if you need anything.
You too. Yeah. Stay healthy.
All right. You too. Bye.
Okay. God bless.
I want to thank Lori again for letting us interview her in part 2 of episode 15. Don't forget, part 3 is going to be on Wednesday. And again, this is a 3-part interview series for episode 15, COVID-19. Hope you guys are learning a little bit from this, just kind of learning from different perspectives, and hopefully there's things that you can take away from the episode as well. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on part 3 on Wednesday. All right, guys, take care.